"Aha! Methinks I hear the musical rattle of a Fiat," said Pete, head cocked in the direction of the driveway. "Bearing, perchance, dispatches from England." Portia jumped up. She forgave herself her moodiness. As a junkie needs a fix, so had she been needing a letter. "I'll go," she said. "I need to practice my Italian on him." Hilary called after her. "Portia, you know your results won't be coming through for at least another week. Besides, Mrs. Worrell said she would telephone us here if anything arrived that looked like it might be from the examination board." But Portia was already out of the house and stepping into the harsh whiteness of day. Never mind exam results. Never mind anything. A letter from Ned. Let there be a letter from Ned. "Buongiorno, signor Postino." "Buongiorno, ragazza mia. Come va questo giorno?" "Bene, grazie, bene. E lei?" "Anche molto bene, mille grazie. Una lettera per me?" Momentino, signorina. Eccola. Ma solamente una carta. Mi dispiace, cara mia." A postcard. Only a postcard. She fought back her disappointment and took it with trembling hands. He was sailing, she told herself. A letter would be difficult. Besides, looking at the postcard with a growing sense of delight, she saw that he had covered it in the tiniest script he could manage, and even put the address of the villa in bright red ink, so that it stood out against the minuscule blue handwriting which wormed around almost every square millimetre of the card. He had even managed to weave narrow threads of words between the lines of the address, she saw. It was better than a letter, to see how much care he had taken, 1,000 times better. She was so full of delight and love that she almost broke into sobs. "Ciao, bella." "Ciao, signor Postino." She turned the card over and looked at the photograph on the front, shielding her eyes from the reflective dazzle. A small fishing port glittered in a softer sunlight than the one that glared down on her now. "The Harbour Tobermory," the caption read in old-fashioned yellow cursive letters. The photograph looked as if it might have been taken in the 1950s. There was a small Morris Minor van parked on the quayside. Then Portia noticed that amongst the jostling crowd of fishing boats there was a little yacht there, hand-drawn in red ink. A nervous smile and eyes had been sketched in on its hull, giving it the frightened look that Thomas the Tank Engine adopted when he was squeezed between the big, scowling locomotives. An arrow pointed down to the boat from the sky, and across the top was written, "The pirate ship Nedlet lies pining at anchor." "News from Loverboy?" Gordon had come out into the sunshine with The World According to Garp and a cup of coffee. He sat himself on a lounger in front of the terrace that ran round the front of the villa and looked up at Portia through dark sunglasses. She nodded, not trying to disguise her happiness. Gordon crossed his right arm over his chest and scratched his left shoulder blade. The compressed skin in the V of his elbow, cradled in his chin as he scratched, looked tanned almost to black. When he straightened out his arm again, the effect was gone. "He's sailing, right?" "In Scotland." "I never been on a sailboat." "Nor me. I'm sure I'd be completely sick." Portia had started using the word completely a lot recently. Ned peppered his letters with it, and she thought of it as his word. Saying it was like wearing an old shirt of his and made her comfortable and proud. "Uh-huh." Gordon nodded seriously as if she had said a profound and interesting thing. Then he picked up a bottle of Hawaiian Tropic tanning oil. "You want to rub some of this on me?" "Okay." Portia put down the postcard and took the bottle. "I'll turn around here and you can do my back." A wave of coconut arose from the palms of her hands as she rubbed them together. She noticed, smoothing oil over his skin, that Gordon had silvery filaments of hair growing in the small of his back, feathered and whorled like a wheat field after a storm, while darker hairs snaked along his shoulders from the base of the neck. She could feel their slight roughness under her hands. His chest was already dense with tight, curly black hairs, and his beard line was heavier than Pete's, who was more than twice his age. She wondered why this might be. It wasn't an ethnic thing. Pete was no less Jewish than Gordon. Perhaps it was something to do with the English climate. She thought of Ned and how proudly he had announced that he was going to have a bash at growing a moustache over the summer. Portia poured a small puddle of oil into the hollow at the base of Gordon's back. Ned was strong, but she did not think he had muscles that were packed as hard and tight under the skin as Gordon's. Every afternoon Gordon had gone into a routine of press-ups, pull-ups and sit-ups in the shade of the paved courtyard behind the villa, to Pete's apparent amusement and Hilary's poorly feigned lack of interest. Portia had watched Hilary watching from the kitchen, and Pete had watched Portia watch Hilary watching, and Portia knew that Pete had been thinking about his own drooping flab and evolving a socio-political explanation that would justify and ennoble it. In New York, Gordon played regularly on his school's tennis and lacrosse teams. He had been outraged to learn that in England lacrosse was a game played almost exclusively by girls in private schools. "He's quite right," Ned had told Portia in a letter. "Lacrosse is a very hard, tough and physical game. It would scare me stiff. That's why I think it's much better left to you girls." Portia smiled as she contemplated the future. She pictured the days when she would be able to rub suntan lotion on Ned's back on holidays yet to come in places yet to be imagined. It was strange, she thought, that she didn't yet know his body. She had never seen him in shorts or swimming trunks. She had never seen him naked. Once, when they had kissed, she had felt something push against her thigh. A hot rush of blood spread across her face at this memory, and she giggled inside herself as she recalled the naivety with which she had originally supposed him to have had something in his pocket. Perhaps next week, in his father's flat, they would go upstairs together. Perhaps— "Where is the harbour Tobermory?" "Hey!" Portia snatched the card from Gordon's hands. "That's private! Oh, no!" Portia looked down in horror. Her oily thumb had smeared across the card, obliterating a whole trail of Ned's careful writing. "No!" she wailed. "It's ruined! Ruined! How could you? You fucker!" "Hey, I'm sorry. I was only—" Portia ran into the house, tears springing from her eyes. Gordon watched her go, shrugged and rearranged his khaki shorts to alleviate the discomfort of a pressing erection.